and welcome to the class today. We're going to go into Oliver Twist now, which is our book introduction. So has anyone read Oliver Twist before? Or have you watched the movie perhaps? There's a very famous line in this book which Oliver says, and you can see he's holding his bowl and his spoon up. Do you know his famous line, what he's known for? Do you know what it is? Hopefully you do. Okay, we'll see what it is later on in the lesson. Now, the lesson goals today are we're going to understand the historical context of Oliver Twist. We're going to read an extract from the book. We're going to answer vipers-based questions. Okay, those are different comprehension type questions. And then we're going to use the point, evidence, and explain P.E.E. structure to answer the questions from the text. That's a written way to answer a high mark question. Okay, so are you ready for today? Yeah, you are? Let's get into it. Let's look at the historical context of Oliver Twist. So as a student in my lesson, we would read through this. We would take turns to read. So I'll read it through today. Oliver Twist was born in the Victorian times to a young woman from a workhouse. Okay, and we can see from the picture here, this is what a workhouse is. What does it look like? Does it look more like a hotel or a prison? All right, let's read. In 1834, Parliament passed a law called the Poor Law Amendment Act, which made it illegal to be poor, destitute, and homeless in England. If anyone found themselves homeless or incapable of caring for themselves, they were to report to the local police station and apply for a ticket to the workhouse. Those who fell on hard times were no longer given handouts at home. The workhouse was to be the only charitable institution in the district eligible to take in the poor. So I've got a question here. This is a retrieval-based question. That means you have to find it in the text. So why would people go to the workhouse? Can you have a look in the text here and see why would you go there? Okay. All right. If you found it, well done. Okay, let's have a look. All right, here it is here. We can see this is the text evidence. You would go here if you were poor, destitute, or homeless in England. Okay, so that's a retrieval question. Now let's go to the inference question. Would people here be helped for free? Any ideas? Now, inference means you have to read between the lines. It means it doesn't give you the exact answer, but we can try and find the answer in the text. So, have you got any ideas? Would they be helped for free? Okay, well, as the word implies, work house, we might be able to imply from this that they would have to work at the workhouse in order to then be given any handouts like food or shelter. So it's probably not a place that you can have as a hotel. You would have to work here in order to be fed and clothed and sheltered. All right, so this is a picture of a real workhouse, and there's these small boys, there's children here from the Crumpsall workhouse in 1895. So this is basically what Oliver would have been doing. He was at the workhouse just like these boys. How do you think Oliver Twist felt growing up in a workhouse? And this is an explain question. You just have to look at the picture, think about the historical context, and maybe explain, why do you think he felt that way? How does he feel? Okay. Now, these boys obviously, are working. Even though they're young, they're working. How do you feel going to school? Do you like it? Okay. How would you feel going to work at a factory with poor conditions? Maybe it's cold there. Maybe they don't get much to eat there. Okay. I don't know if Oliver Twist would like it, right? Okay. Now we're going to go into Oliver Twist's most famous line, which is, "Please, sir, I want some more." So let's have a look at this picture first of all. This is in the workhouse. You can see the boys and Oliver's holding out his bowl. Mr. Bumble here has got the gruel and the ladle, which is what you serve the gruel out with, and he's asking for some more. So let's have a quick look at the overall of the book. Oliver Twist grows up in the workhouse environment as an orphan, okay? That means he doesn't have parents, a mother or a father, whose mother died giving birth to him after being admitted to the institution. The portrayal of Mr. and Mrs. Bumble, okay, here they are in the picture, is both comical and chilling. Their response to Oliver's plaintive cry, "Please, sir, I want some more," has become one of the best known scenes in English literature. So well done if you did know this line before we started. It's very famous, and obviously it is an understanding of the historical context. He didn't have enough food, right? So, inference. What does Oliver want more of? Okay, I think I gave that away. We have got a picture here of his bowl and the gruel. He wants some more food, right? Prediction. How do you think Mr. Bumble will react to Oliver's request for more? Okay, so this is a prediction question. How do you think this man here, Mr. Bumble, is going to react? Any ideas? We've got a little bit of an inference here because it says the portrayal of them is comical and chilling. So we could infer here that the chilling response wasn't a good one. Okay. Now, these are comprehension strategies. What does the word comprehension mean? Anyone know? If you know, well done. Let's have a look at the definition. The capability of understanding something. So when you read the text, you fully are able to understand what is going on. We're going to look at some VIPERS questions. Now, comprehension questions typically fall under 5 different categories. So we've got the acronym here, VIPERS. Does anyone know what they stand for? Do you want to have a go? Any idea what the V is? I-P-E-R-S? If you know, you can pause this and you can write them out if you want to have a guess. But we're going to look at the answers now. We've got vocabulary, asking what a word means, okay? Or maybe an antonym or a synonym for the word. We've got inference. So this would be trying to read between the lines to understand what's going on. It's not written in black and white. You have to kind of understand the context to be able to answer these questions. Prediction means what's going to happen next. To predict, this isn't a guess out of the sky. It's able to be able to also do a bit of inference to be able to think what the logical next reaction might be. So as we looked at Mr. Bumble and his chilling response to Oliver, what do we think his response will be? Okay, so you have to predict accurately according to the text. Explaining, we've done this just now, okay? You've got to explain what is happening, explain why someone might feel this way or that way. Retrieving is just literally finding the answer in the text. So you might need to scan the text, be able to just find the answer and pull it out. Summarizing is a concise way of summing up a long amount of information. So let's read the text and answer some VIPER questions. A tip when we read the text is sometimes they give you a little clue beforehand. It explains the setting. It's really important to read this and to take a moment to think about it because it gives you clues as to what's going to happen in the text. So here we go. The scene is a Victorian workhouse. Oliver Twist has just been born to a young woman in the presence of a doctor and a nurse. A woman from the workhouse brought in to help. Oliver starts to cry for the first time. Okay, so we've got a bit of setting going on here, telling us who and where. Okay, setting usually refers to who. So who is here? Okay, the young woman, Oliver Twist, the doctor, the nurse, which is a lady from the workhouse. Okay, and we've got the setting. So it's in the workhouse and obviously in the presence of a doctor. So maybe in a kind of doctor area. All right, and then it's telling us Oliver starts to cry for the first time, so explaining quite easily what's happening to us. So inference, why do you think the word nurse is in inverted commas? Any ideas? A nurse, a woman from the workhouse brought in to help. Do we think she's really a nurse? It looks here Like the answer might be, she's actually just a woman from the workhouse. She might not be qualified as a nurse. She's just someone who's coming in to help. So let's read the text. You would read this in my live lessons and we would answer them, but I'm going to read it for you today. So as Oliver gave his first proof of free and proper action of his lungs, the patchwork coverlet was carelessly flung over the iron bedstead, rustled. The pale face of a young female was raised feebly from the pillow, and a faint voice imperfectly articulated the words, "Let me see the child and die." The surgeon had been sitting with his face turned towards the fire, giving the palms of his hands a warm and rub alternatively. But as the young woman spoke, he rose, and advancing to the bed's head, said, with more kindness than might have been expected of him, "Oh, you must not talk about dying yet." "Lord bless her dear heart, no," interposed the nurse, hastily depositing in her pocket a green glass bottle, the contents of which she had been tasting in the corner with evident satisfaction. All right, so we're going to do some Vipers questions. And I want you to remember when we look at questions, we want to also look at the marks because this gives us an idea of how to answer them. Is it with like a one word or a one sentence answer, or does it need to be a longer answer? So the first one is vocabulary. Think of a synonym for the word feebly. Okay, let's have a look for the word feebly. Try and understand what it means in context. And a synonym would be to give a word which is similar to. I always think of is similar. Antonym is the opposite of the word, but a synonym is a similar word. All right, so let's have a look. We're looking for the word feebly. Can you see it? Here it is. The pale face of a young female was raised feebly from the pillow, and in a faint voice, imperfectly articulated, the words, "Let me see the child and die." Okay, so have a look in context. What do we think the word feebly means? She's on a pillow. She's feeling like she's dying. Her voice is very faint. Okay, do we think feebly might be the antonym? Maybe she's feeling really strong. Or a synonym would be maybe she's feeling really, what do you think? She's feeling really weak. Okay, so that could be a really good synonym. You could think of other similar synonyms as well, but she's weak, she's dying, she's faint. Okay, so she's weak. Explain. So what does the phrase "Oliver gave his first proof of the free and proper action of his lungs"? What do we think that means? He's using his lungs. This is a 1 mark answer. Any ideas? Now, what do children usually do? Well, babies, when they're born, what do they do lots and lots of? They use their lungs to do what? It's his proper action of his lungs. Any ideas? If you've got this right, he's actually crying. So he's screaming, he's crying, he's making a loud noise. And in fact, if you looked at the introduction from the last slide, it tells us Oliver starts to cry for the first time. So we know that that's the case. All right, inference. What time of the year could it be? Ooh, inference. So it doesn't really tell us, does it? Because an inference question doesn't tell us in black and white, it's winter, it's summer, it's spring, it's autumn. It doesn't say those words. So we have to read between the lines. What is going on in the text to give us the clue of what the weather could be, what time of year it could be? This is a 3-mark answer. So 3 marks would mean it's not just a 1 sentence, it would be probably a 3 sentence, which means we would use our points, evidence, and explain to be able to answer this. So 3 sentences, giving a point, okay, giving a quote, okay, to the evidence, and then to explain it in our last sentence. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually look at this, P.E.E. What is your point? Give evidence from the text. This means a quote. So we want to also use quotation marks and being able to draw a sentence or a few phrases or words from the text and explaining. Okay, so linking them together to explain. Now, in order to get higher marks, we do need to use quotations from the text, okay? And I would suggest a sentence for each of these. That means 3 sentences, okay? That helps you to just think, I need to do 1 for my point. What is the weather like? What time of the year is it? Okay, giving evidence from the text and explaining it. So I've done for you, because I'm very nice, I've got the evidence for you. Okay, so let's have a look at this sentence down here. The surgeon had been sitting with his face turned towards the fire, giving the palms of his hands a warm and rub alternatively. Or because it's a fire, he'll probably put it on the fire and rub. Okay, so would he be doing this in summer? No. So you've got to think, what could the weather be like? Okay, so then what time of the year could it be like? So let's make our points. So everyone get your pens out. We're going to make a sentence now of your points. So you want to make a simple statement about what the writer does or what is happening to prove your point. So the point here would be, I think the time of year during this text is, and you can say what season it is. So I think it is winter during this text, during the scene, okay? So you can make your points. I would say it's winter because it's obviously very cold. So now we're going to give evidence. So we can say, I know this because in the text it says, okay, this is when we give our quotation marks. So I want to put in the inverted commas. The surgeon had been sitting with his face turned toward the fire, giving the palms of his hands a warm and rub alternatively. You can shorten this text. So you could say, he had been sitting with his face turned towards the fire. And you could just say, because there was a fire on, it's probably cold, therefore it's winter. You don't have to use this entire text, okay? Sometimes short and sweet evidence sentences are better as long as it's able to prove the point that you want. Okay, now you're going to explain, okay? So therefore, because there's a fire in the room, it infers that it's cold, and therefore we can imply, this implies that it's winter. All right, let's have a look at a perfect answer. Here we go. So we've got 3 sentences. The writer subtly hints at the possibility of winter. That's the point. Okay, now we want to give evidence. In the second paragraph, the description of the surgeon sitting by the fire, giving the palms of his hands a warm rub, implies a chill in the air. Okay, and then the explain one, this suggests a cold environment, indicating that it might be winter. All right, so have a look at your answer, see if you've written something similar. Well done if you have, that's wonderful. I want you to quickly look at your quotation marks. Before we do quotation marks, just remember you're going to put a comma beforehand, okay? And then you're going to make sure that the words are word for word inside of the quotation marks. You can't paraphrase this, you can't add words or take away words. When it's a quote, it has to be exactly word for word. So if it isn't, check your answer now, make sure that your quote is word for word, because that's what it needs to do. Make sure you've got your comma there. Okay, well done for checking that. Now we're going to do another set of Vipers questions, and then we're going to do another P.E.E. question, and I'm going to let you do your P.E.E. on your own and make sure that you can do that properly. Okay, let's read. Lord bless her heart, when she has lived as long as I have, sir, and have 13 children of her own, and all of them dead except 2, and them in the workhouse with me, she'd know better than to take it on that way. Bless her dear heart. Think what it is to be a mother. There's a dear young lamb, do. Apparently, this consolatory perspective of a mother's prospects failed in producing its due effect. The patient shook her head, then stretched out her hand towards the child. The surgeon deposited it in her arms. She imprinted her cold, white lips passionately on his forehead, passed her hands over her face, gazed wildly around, shuddered, fell back, and died. Oh dear, what a sad passage. So let's have a look at the vocabulary here. What does the word deposited mean? This is a 1-mark answer, so we can just write down a very short sentence or even a few words here. The surgeon deposited it in her arms. Now the inference here is, what do we think it is? She stretched out her hand towards the child. The surgeon deposited it in her arms. Okay, so we can infer that it would be her child. He's deposited it in her arms. What do we think that word means? Okay, so it's another synonym, really. He's placed it, or he's put it into her arms. Okay, so deposited means to put something, to place something somewhere. Okay, to summarize, give a summary of the nurse's life from the first paragraph. Okay, so the nurse has used a very specific type of English. Okay, there's a lot of words here that don't actually, make proper grammatical sense. It's not the right spelling. Okay, so we've got here workus. What do we think that is? Okay, it's work house. But the writer is doing this to suggest she's got a strong accent, and this would be probably a strong Cockney accent maybe, or a strong working class accent. So some of these words and phrases are broken English, right? So we want to give a summary. Now, a summary is not rephrasing this whole sentence. It's not adding to the sentence and writing a whole paragraph. A summary is giving a very concise, short and sweet one sentence of her life. Okay, we don't want to make it long, because then it's only a 1-mark answer. We're going to waste all of our time making a long answer here, and we only get 1 mark. So let's have a look. What happened to her? Let's have a look. 13 children of her own. All of them dead except 2. That's very sad. And them, the 2 of them, in the workhouse with me. Okay, so we can do a 1-sentence answer for this. Would you like to give that a go? Write a summary in a very concise 1-sentence answer, because we don't want to make it very long. We don't want to rephrase this. We just need to make it very short and sweet. Okay, so if you want to pause and write that, you can. So I would say the nurse had 13 children. All of them died except 2 who live in the workhouse with her now. Okay, that's a very short and sweet summary in a concise way. Okay, so that is the end of our lesson today. For homework this week, I have given you chapter 2 of Oliver Twist, okay? So you can read chapters 1 and 2 of Oliver Twist, the book, and then you can complete the P.E.E. questions. Now, the easy one, if you're in year 4 and you find the P.E.E. quite difficult, then you can actually cut out the different sentences and match them together so that they make sense. But if you're in year 5, you should be doing the hard one, okay? And that is writing from scratch the P.E.E. structure, okay, answering these questions. So you should find in the text some text evidence, okay, and able to answer these questions using the P.E.E. method. Now, I have put the P.E.E. method here as well, so you should be able to do this on your own, okay? If it's tricky, that's all right. Just keep practicing. You've got 4 different questions to practice, okay? And you can even do the year 4 activity first, if that helps you to be able to do your point evidence and explain. So next lesson is our creative writing. So we're going to write a letter from Oliver Twist persuading his uncle to rescue him from the workhouse. So we're going to look at the structure of a letter and the correct way to write a letter. We're also going to look at persuasion and persuasive language. Okay, we're also going to use some persuasive phrases and some really good advanced vocabulary too. So ambitious vocabulary. So that's going to be really fun. I hope that you can join me for the next lesson. It will be great to see you there. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed the class today. It's been really wonderful learning about Oliver Twist with you. I hope you've had fun. I hope you've been able to answer the comprehension questions really well. And I hope to see you next lesson. Bye.